Hi, the purpose of this demonstration is to showcase our resource manager called Time Manager Live. Historically, Paris Technologies has integrated with the Microsoft stack, and therefore this tool will show how end users can capture their time in Outlook, how we can report in Excel and other tools like reporting services. I will also show you how we calculate and report on cash flow forecasts based on complex rates tables. And then finally, I will also show you how managers can log time for a consulting group in a central interface other than Outlook, like an Excel spreadsheet. So let me jump right into this demonstration, and I'm going to start off showing you how we load a new activity inside Outlook in this special project calendar. And I'm going to click right, and what will appear is an appointment window that has been customized to specifically capture data that we will require for reporting. So it is possible to schedule by actual or scheduled time. And we're going to capture scheduled time here. We have got a list of projects at various customers. So I could say we're going to capture at customer A and for project A1 at customer A. And then a specific activity. This could be a consulting activity. And we will be doing some training. This time will be billable, and we will perform it in the town of Doylestown. So when I save it, it will be loaded into the calendar. It is possible also to take existing appointments in another calendar and drag them over to this new calendar. And it will also show me now the possibility of loading specific categories, as I've shown you with the previous one. The interface also records past events so that a consultant who is typically busy on one or two projects only can select existing items and therefore don't have to go through the process of reselecting all of these drop-down menus all the time. We're going to create an activity that's going to be incomplete, so I'm not going to capture the final activity over here so that you can see what happens in an exception report. So I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to jump straight into Excel. This was the position previously before I entered those activities, and I'm going to recalculate these Excel spreadsheets. You can see that the new time has been updated into this specific sheet. Now I have got the ability to choose between different projects. So I could say, okay, well, we just want to look at customer C data. Refreshing report will bring me only customer C's data. I'm going to go back to the highest level. Then we can also look at the resource group. Now, I happen to know that there is time for this user called Sherry Hillman, which is the person that I'm logged into Outlook. And now you see just time for Sherry, but I can also look at her colleague Jane Doe, who has got time captured or scheduled time captured for the same week. I'm going to go back to the total resource level, where we're now looking at both Sherry's and Joe's time together. And then finally, I can have a look at the different activities. So if we want to look at just account management activities, there's none at the moment, but let's try something else like consulting. And there we go, there's consulting activities. I'm also going to show you now what another reporting interface like reporting services. This is specifically a report that could go out and be automatically emailed to the consultants. So I'm going to refresh my report. And what you will see, it's updated, and it's also showing that there's an entry that requires me to complete. And I can see this was loaded on the 11th of June, and there's an activity missing. So I can jump back into Outlook, and we know that this one over here, we have got an incomplete activity. And we're going to say that this is Q&A testing. Save it, and I'm going to jump back into my report, rerun my report, and you see now my time is clean. Good. So the next thing that I want to show you is how we can capture rates, and I'm going to show you this interface where you see a few slices. I'm not going to make any changes here now, but it is possible for different types of consultants to load data for a specific month. Here I've got more detailed data for each individual consultant for a specific month. And then the last slice over here contains data for all of my consultants. And I just want to show you, these are the different versions we see in the report, actuals and scheduled, but it could be also for other versions. Then billable will be billable or not billable. We could easily customize these dimensions to add or remove some of the categories. This happens to be my project dimension. You're looking there at all of the projects together. And these are the different activities that are possible. And again, as I said, they can be customized for an individual customer. So in this slice, you're currently looking at hours, but if I double click over here and change the member to amount and refresh the report, you are now looking at the dollar values that have been converted based on the tables that I've just shown you. The formulas that drive these calculations are stored here inside of Elation, where one of these formulas could potentially replace millions of Excel formulas. So instead of having to manage multiple Excel spreadsheets, the logic of those spreadsheets are incorporated into this interface where it can be maintained in one single place, which means if there's a change to be made, it only has to be done here and not in other Excel spreadsheets. I can also look at these dollar values inside of my reports. So by changing this member from hours to amount and refreshing this report, you'll see dollar values instead of the hours. I also have built some other reports. In this case, we're looking at the amounts again, but now I'm looking at, on the rows, all of my categories, and on the columns I'm looking at week by week consecutively, and you'll see over here in May and June there are dollar values for those consultant hours. The last tab over here is an example of a graph based on the previous tab. So what I want to show you now, and finally, is how we would use an Excel spreadsheet to be able to capture for multiple users at the same time. This would be an interface that managers of consulting groups would use. Instead of going into individual Outlook calendars, I'm going to capture here some time for Project B from 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock. And this will be some consulting time. And this will be a meeting with customer B. Now, when I click on this button, it will update both of these items for Sherry Hillman into a table inside our SQL Server. So those are the appointments that are being loaded. And if I show you now inside SQL Server what that looks like. So before these two activities were loaded, there were no extras, and you see these new ones have been created for the 10th of June. When I jump back into Outlook and refresh my calendar, go back to the beginning of June, you'll see the two new items appearing on the 10th of June. And I can maybe change them now if I wanted to. And if I go back into SQL Server and refresh this report, you'll see that Outlook has loaded IDs, so it's now fully synchronized between SQL Server and Outlook. And therefore, if I go back into my Excel report, let's go back to hours and refresh this report. You'll see the new scheduled time appearing in my calendar. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.